There is this tendency that has been carried over to the new presentation from religions and spiritual paths by present new friends, by the new friends we have now. And the train of thought goes like this. They think it is incumbent on God, essentially Jesus, the masters, etc., to intervene in their lives when things are going in the wrong direction, especially if they are in tune with these personalities, with the personalities they look up to through prayer, worship, and other forms. New friends may also think that because they sing the new song, read the books, and read the courses, that the real guides and the new man will fix things for them. And some African new friends even ask what the real guides are actually doing. And they see the challenges they face. Are they sort of indifferent or impotent to do something? Some of them may ask. So what do you say about this, Duane?
Okay, again, see, they're referring to what they've come through and the ideas that they've created about the ideas that they've come through, if you understand that. So you've got a spiritual path, which is an idea, which is fine. But each person has their own ideas about that spiritual path. So everything that they've created in their minds and emotions and whatever their memories or experiences that they've had, which are all fine, here on the real side, they bring that with them, of course. And they look at the words, they start reading, and it's like, oh, this is similar to what I've been through. Oh, I understand these things. Etc., because they're the same words that they've read before. And there's a few newer ones, of course, but it's basically the same as they've read before. So what they do is they bring their, old interpretation with them to try and figure out a new position. And the new presentation is not that. It's a new presentation. It's like walking into a new room. Actually, it's like walking outside and seeing the sky is what it is, not just walking into another room. And that is that to where you start to recognize what is being referred to. This is the difference, you see. So this is why there's no membership and things aren't a particular here. With the real guides, there's no membership. And again, the idea that, oh, the guides are going to do something, etc. Well, they do if they choose to do it, just like your parents. They chose to raise you and feed you. They didn't have to, but of course they were also forced by the law. Otherwise, they'd be arrested because, again, we have fear and intimidation here, etc. But when people look to these things, especially the old stuff, a lot of it is, especially the God idea, and the Savior idea, but mainly the God idea, it's fear. There's a hidden fear there. What most people don't realize is that in their past lives, and we've been through many, the non-believers were killed. They were beheaded or what have you, tortured, etc. And they were a demonstration to others and the masses. That's why they did tortures and what have you. The Vatican did this, right out in the public square. They would do hangings and whatever. The reason that they did this, it was not to say, oh, we're torturing the bad guy here because he robbed somebody here or he stole or he killed somebody. That's not really the main idea, but they play both sides. They get both sides. Yeah, they get that part. They get the vengeance, whatever, and they clear this fellow out of the way, etc. Because he probably knew what the government was doing, etc. But at the same time, they get to expose fear, okay, to the masses to where they will obey. So they get both sides. And so this is what you see with many of these things, and that is that as people come along with, especially with the God idea, they're actually bringing their taplining fears, which they don't see on the surface. And so they're looking for something else to latch onto. So they're expecting the guides to supposedly, in their own interpretation, live their lives too, or do things for them. You see, it's just it's something that sounds better as they read it. It's like, oh, this is an adventure, because everybody wants some kind of adventure, romance, or risk in their life. They do, and so it's safe to read these things, etc. But this is really where it comes from, and there's that hidden fear there. But the reality is that, and most of these people, they're already grown up. They've lived with their parents. They have, just like everybody here. Here is basically live with their parents, and they're on their own. Well, that's the idea. Now you meet the real guides, and they're going to gradually, show you, share and show you what's going on. Not that they're going to be your servant and do things for you. And this is a misinterpretation, because in the past, they were with the masters and gurus and their family that raised them and fed them. Now they're thinking that the real guides to the real universe is going to do the same thing. No, this is where you learn to be self-sufficient. You learn to pay attention and become self-sufficient, not stay dependent. If you want to stay dependent on the system and have that attitude with the guides, then you'll just stay in creation, because, see, creation is cause and effect dependency. That's what it is here. And to be independent and indifferent and real, that's the real universe is. You decide to step up. So you can have all kinds of experiences here, okay? But what does that equal unless you decide to be the real you see? The real awareness, that free being of real light, or do you want to just stay the personal self in the five bodies? See, that's a choice. So again, most people have been brought up through a comfort zone. A lot of people in the world are doing well. A lot of people aren't. But it's not about that. It's about the challenge to recognize, the new nowness life is. This is a position, the new wave is like nothing ever before in creation, because it is a new nowness, and it could not have happened before. You see, it's only happening right now, and there's only such a window for it, because of how cause and effect creation is, because of how people decide. Things that come in creation are kind of like a fad. One day it's like, oh, we'll wear long dresses. The next day we'll wear short dresses, or we'll wear long sleeve shirts or short sleeve shirts, or today we'll wear hats. It's kind of a fashion statement as how things have become through the lifetimes. We've procured all these experiences and created what we have. And most people, you look at what's out there on the internet or whatever, you take David Icke and David Wilcox and Gia and many of these other things, they're all into ancient history and all these things, and people are fascinated by this stuff. Well, these are old experiences we've all gone through, and the value of them is basically zero, simply because it has nothing to do with the true reality life is, except it shows you what you've been through and what has no value. And I'm not saying not go listen to it and whatever, because you can get perspectives. But again, when it comes to the real guides, they have free will, just like you do. They are wonderful beings that have free will, and they'll decide if they're going to do something or not. But again, just like in the military, you have to prove yourself. You just don't beg the sergeant or the captain, oh, gee, can I have this or that? Can I have extra potatoes, for dinner? Well, go peel them and cook them. Yeah, you can have them. So the idea here is that this is where the projects again come in. I'm showing people how to earn their way and become more aware through that process, This is where I set things up, etc. Now, Paul did certain things because, again, he babied people along because it was like preschool, all right? Because that's all people could take. And so he did the different levels and whatever, but basically it was all literal. It was all literal stuff. And people still hold on to those ideas. And it's not that, because, you know, it's a new day. Just like every day the sun comes out, it is a new day. And all of a sudden, you know, you, as a farmer, let's say, you look at your crops and all of a sudden one day, wow, the flowers are blooming. All of a sudden, it's a new day where yesterday they weren't blooming. You see, we're the new bloom. But people are still looking at the old references. They're carrying those. And uh, hidden within all that, weaved within it from lifetimes, is fear. This is why people hang on to the God idea. You know, they're afraid they'll stay on the fence. They won't really pursue the challenge of recognizing the isness life is, because that's something that you can't even consider compared to the God idea and the Savior idea and all these little warm and cozy emotional things that people have come to know. And I'm not saying you get rid of your emotions. You don't have to get rid of anything. Everything that you want, you can have. Everybody can have whatever they want in life. You decide. And this is where very few will decide to recognize the is and stand real with it. You have to prove it. So even though you have the recognition, then the next step up is to prove it, just like a soldier. So you're a soldier? Okay, you can tell everybody that. Well, prove it. You know, defend us with your life. You see? It's the proving it, and it's the standing real. So again, we come from ideas and all this babysitting, etc. And yes, people bring their ideas because they want their little comfort zone. Well, that's fine. They can have it in their mind. That's the only place it is. And they can say, oh, the guides do this or that or whatever because they have experiences. Well, yeah. But guess what? It's really not that. Not even close. That's all in your mind. You have to see it. You have to recognize it. You have to be a risk taker to stand real and step up and do something real. Prove it. Yeah. You like what's being presented? Share it. Prove it. Yeah. Yeah. That's how real it gets. Not just talk it, but prove it. Do something creatively, you see? Then the real guides will step up and they will back you, you see? And the whole of life will back you. That's the best part. You think just because Harry's up on stage saying pretty words, or David Icke is saying this, or the president is saying that, or the Queen or the Vatican, that life and the real guides are backing them? No, they don't back them at all, because their intent and their agenda is to keep people controlled and human farmed. That's not the purpose here. The purpose here is to show people how to recognize the isness. Everything I present is a reference to that. And so, you know, the old stuff that people have went through and what I've went through, etc., I use that as references of what you don't need. You have to see both sides. You have to see what you do need to succeed, to relate to this reality, and you have to see what you don't need, what is not so, you see? Yeah, so that becomes the challenge. Who can do that? And so even in the translation, it's a challenge to translate what I'm saying. Yeah, it is. But, you know, do it or don't. But once you figure it out, well, then you've done something awesome for those people that are looking for this. And yes, I had to translate all this. I have to bring this through. If it's English, if it's Russian, German, you know, Spanish, whatever position I've come through, I've had to bring this through my own translation to present it, but I'm not going to be figuring it out for the Spanish person or the Russian or the German person. They have to figure it out. That's their challenge. Learn to see what is written. Learn to see how to interpret it. You see, it's in the seeing. That's the fun part. I like the challenge. Yeah, because the isness, you cannot consider it. This is the best part of it because it's endless. It is endless, no restrictions, no authorities. Yeah, so compare that to creation, nothing but restrictions, suffering, authorities, struggle, diseases, purposely created, poisons. This is all planned. And people like it here. You like it here? Have fun. There you go, Charles.
Okay, then you just talked about, just made mention of something there, comfort zone. Yeah, it seems this word now is when we tell Christians to get out of their comfort zone, take the risk to discover something new, they also throw it back at us. Like my sister, my younger sister, when I sent her this poster, creation is in your hands. She also sent me some biblical stuff in exchange. So while we are trying to get them get most of the so-called Christians out there or whoever to discover something new, they are also trying to get us out of what they call our comfort zone and be delivered in the Lord Jesus. So, uh, so what do you say about these comfort zones in the new presentation, Duane?
Well, it's very realistic for here. Of course, we all have our comfort zones, comfort areas, what we're comfortable with, what we like and dislike. That's the personal self. Of course, just like you. You don't like to get up late and do this. You'd rather sleep. And, I don't like getting up early anymore because I'd rather sleep and then get up when I do, etc., because I stay up late. And, that goes with what you eat or who you know or what you do, etc. That's the personal self, okay? So they're simply referring to the personal self. And so when it comes to that, like your sister giving you these, these biblical sayings or whatever, and, I might say something, I'll just use humor because it is all humorous. And that is, okay, so this is a test I'm supposed to fill out and qualify. And what happens if I give you the wrong answers? Do I not pass? What's the idea here? I just make something up kind of funny. You see, but when you're kind of serious and these things come to you and you kind of make them into some kind of literal something. In other words, when two people go back and forth literally, that's all they're doing. They're just exchanging words, okay? Yeah, a lot of people know things. And like your sister, that's what she knows. So she's sharing that with you. But you can, in your own way, okay, you can take it a particular way. It's like, I don't want to read this, or this is a religion or whatever. I don't want to, whatever. Or you can, make it a little funny. You see, because it's all the same words, they're just rearranged. So it's whatever your idea of it is. But here's the best part, Charles, with what we're doing. Nobody is under any obligation to make sure that others accept this or are convinced by it. You're not under any obligation to do that. You see? It's not your job. Your job is like the birds. You just fly around and demonstrate. You see? In other words, you share. That's all. That's all we're doing is sharing. We're not here to convince the world. We cannot do that. The boys too. That's why you don't really see them. They play the backside. We play the front side. We're on the front line. But it's just that you're not obligated, you see. Once you understand that, then it's okay. It's like, hey, if they accept it, fine. If they don't, other than that, again, those words that she gave you or whatever. I do the same thing with the doctors and whatever that I relate to, because I take acupuncture and other stuff sometimes, and I just have fun with it. They give me a sheet to fill out. It's like, oh, gee, is this a test? You know, do you have the answer book? And I just write in the answers. You know, see, you're a teacher, you know these things. And what's fun is that you teach children and you watch children. You see, children are awesome because they're very creative. Let them be creative. Let them be a little sneaky and clever. It's fun, isn't it? You see them all the time. They do these little different things, or they'll say things to you like, it's like, well, I tried to do this, but, you know, I decided not to do it, and I decided to do this instead. You see? That's cool. Those are little risk takers. And so, again, yeah, the world is what it is. We're not here to change the world. No, that's not the idea. Everybody's got their comfort zones and whatever. All that's fine. But at the same time, you can creatively bring something in that gets their attention for a moment and see if they're interested. That's all. But you're under no obligation even to do that. But you decide that's your adventure. See, this is my adventure. I created all these things because I like the challenge of confrontation. You're going to have confrontation. And it's not about that I present this to the world and that the world agrees with me. I'm not looking for agreement ever, but when I get it, it's wow, that's really cool. Usually I get the opposite where people don't want to hear it or like it or it's a cult or what, who are you, or you stole this from, this is like Paul's works or whatever. Well, again, you got to take the time to learn it. But and then I just say, okay, have fun. You know, I'm not obligated to make sure they understand what I'm presenting. You see? No way. But my adventure is to take this on and present it to where all of a sudden, oh, you people are here. You get some part of it, don't you? Yes, you do. And so that's the cool part. And that is that this is where we all, the adventure of life is becoming more aware. That's what it is. It's not unfoldment. It's not being spiritual and all these things. Again, those are ideas. It's about becoming more aware to where you eventually can recognize the isness life is, and you can free yourself from all of creation realistically, not artificially, because you have some initiations that some computer warehouse gave you, okay? Because that's all they are. Yes. So, yeah, it's a very interesting adventure. So again, the new nowness is very unique, but it's a toughie because again, you know, it's taken people millions of lifetimes to get here. And they're not going to just like Zowie understand it. No, it may take them another 100 lifetimes to figure it out, the rest of your life and beyond. Why put a time limit on it? Are you going somewhere? It's like, oh, gee, I tell people, it's give it 50 years. It's like, oh, gee, I don't have 50 years. Oh, really? Where are you going? You know, we're all in the same life. You know, it's a step at a time. Where are you going? You got some place to go? Okay, we'll go. Yes, it's kind of humorous, isn't it? You're not going anywhere.
Really?
We're all in the same life, really. It's just that people have been taught that's the indoctrination of the systems. They've set it up perfectly. The Indians were taught, they didn't teach their kids this. They taught their kids about nature and the reality of what's going on. Here we have created systems that indoctrinate people to stay one-dimensional so that they don't in no way understand themselves at all. And just even the imagination is X'd out and not even considered. In other words, they'll tell you what life is about. In other words, life on earth according to them. It's not life. It's not the whole of life. It's life according to them and their one-dimensional controlling system. That's really what it is, but they don't say it that way. You see, they'll just say, well, people just say, well, this is life, what life is. So unconsciously, they're thinking that, oh, this is life on earth. Oh, you know, I go through high school, then I go through college, I get a good job, I get paid by the people that deceive me, who printed the money, etc., you know, etc., this controlling system. Oh, this is life. Oh, I'm having a good life. I get to go to the theater, I get to go to restaurants, I get to drive up and down the street with my polluting car, adding to the demise of the environment. Wow, what a great life. You see, that's life to most people. You see? So funny, isn't it, what we do here? We don't consciously consider what's going on. We chase ideas. And this is what people don't see. Well, this is not the idea of the new nowness. It's not about chasing ideas. It's about recognizing how you've come through these ideas, how you've created these ideas, and how creation is compared to the real universes. Here's a real comparison. And again, referring to what Paul created. You see, he did all the steps, all the levels. There's no such thing as any of that. But did it for the literal mind. And it's become a way of life for many people. So they're striving to a higher level. There is no higher or lower. It's an isness. It's a complete isness that you recognize. This is what's so cool about it. You see, when you're striving for a higher level, then that means you're restricted to a lower level, and you've already considered that and accepted that. You see? This is just like competition here. They created competition for one thing, to confuse everybody else. You don't see the birds competing. They don't do flying races, do they? Or pecking races? See how many worms did you get today, Fred? Did you get 5? Well, I got 6. Okay, is there competition with that? You see, all these things were created here, planned. Look at society. Look at the United States in the last 300 years, from the Indians, the indigenous people that were here, to now. It's nuts, and it's all planned poisoning and deception and demise. But most people are okay with it. They just keep chasing. You know, they've got a business. They're working. They chase the money. They want the good times. They want the new car. They want the new TV set. They want 5G. Yeah. Can't wait to get it. Well, This is the world. This is the world, Charles. You are not obligated. You decide, okay? You decide how you're going to prove yourself to the whole of life or not. You see, life sees all of us. We decide the adventure and if we're going to do it or not. So all I'm providing is the ideas, the reference. I like reference better, is the reference to this reality. And so again, here's the projects and the adventures of creating these fun things, you see? And the latest creation we got together and decided was the visitor, you see? So these fun little things. So again, and there's a bigger picture because we got a lot of other stuff going on, the galactic stuff and all kinds of things. And Kelsey's a good example. Kelsey and, Henry, etc. And they get on, and Tim, he reads, and now Lila and others, that those are something, okay? And yes, we all attend the Skypes. But this is like halftime in a football game. This is where you get the ideas, and then you go out there and have the adventure and share, because it's about becoming more aware. That's why we're in creation. And so as you share with others something that makes sense, okay, your life begins to make more sense. Everything equals itself. And then the guides will stand with you and show you more because you're interested in seeing more. You're a risk taker now. You're on the adventure. You're willing to step up to the confrontation of all the silliness in the world, but you're not here to change the world. You're not here to make it a better place, and we cannot save the world. We cannot save creation. Respectfully, everybody creates what they do, but at the same time, we're creating something that makes sense, and see if people will wake up and stop polluting and stop agreeing to the demise of what's going on. You know, those big black holes out there aren't there for no reason at all. That's part of the consciousness that is imploding upon itself. It's very real. And these black holes suck in planets and stars. And guess what? That's part of the consciousness that everybody's agreed to. There's no mistake that those are out there. Everything in creation is consciousness. It's from the individuals that are in creation. That's how things occur. Just like the world controllers. They've created all the poisons. They've created all the deception, etc. It just didn't fall out of the sky. So when you go to the doctor and he says, you got cancer, we don't know where it came from. Oh, yeah, they do. It all came from some cause. Most of it comes from tap lining from your astral body. And the effects come into the physical body, which people don't see. But then again, today you have diet, you have less oxygen, you have many things to where the cells turn into cancer cells at a certain point when they don't have enough oxygen or the pH isn't there or whatever. I'm not the big formula guy, but there's the basic idea. So there's many ways to get it, but a lot of it's from tap lining. It starts in the other bodies and then it eventually filters through because the physical is the dumping ground, and eventually you have it, you see? And so now you have a new challenge. But all this is planned. There's no mistake. It's all part of the plan. You just have to see it. But most people will say, oh, no, that can't be so. The government wouldn't do that to us, would they? Well, they are doing it to you, etc. And you decide to wake up or not. It doesn't mean the government's bad. It's just that now you're allowed to be a little trickier and a little more clever and creative, or you just go along with the system thinking that they'll take care of it eventually. Okay? Well, you can look at Flint, Michigan, where they had the water stuff. It's been bad for years. Well, it's still going on and on and on. It's never taken care of because they don't want it taken care of. Fukushima and all other things that are going, they're still going because they don't want to take care of them. Now we got nuclear power plants all over the world. They're all leaking. Things are dying and et cetera. 3 Mile Island, that's an old one. Just made a group on that one from a Harvey Weissman from a news thing there. I just did one on Facebook. Again, all this is covered up, but this is the plan. Because the future is that those people that do not become more aware, they will go into future robotized bodies where they will be more controlled. You see, because we're here now, we're bringing the real awareness. We're providing a real awareness, the real connection. And they don't like that. They see what we're doing. So they're stepping up all the bad things, all the red flags, all the demise of the world. They're stepping that up because they want people controlled. This is what they do. And so, yes, we have a huge challenge here. So, yes, those of you that are here, good for you. You've stepped up. But there's a lot more to it. There's always more. But again, no one's under any obligation. That's not the idea here. No one's being intimidated. You decide your adventure. All I'm doing is sharing my experiences, like I've said in the beginning, and I'm sharing what's possible. And then I see those people that have the courage to step up. So I will personally, share and stand real with them. It's not about working. Okay, the old saying is co-worker with God. Well, have fun with that one. You want to be a worker with God? Seeing them on the real side, it's all drudgery. The thing is, and it's drudgery here too. It's a matter of standing real and taking on the adventure. Yes, of doing something wonderful. So, Charles, yes, all that and a lot more.